Welcome to the Christian Life Coach Collective. I'm your host, Laura Malone, and you are in the right place if you want to make an impact in your life and the lives of the people around you. Maybe you even want to turn your gift of helping others into an income so you can support your family and your dreams and make a way for your calling. I'm here to guide you because you deserve to have encouragement and resources and somebody invested in you as you go invest yourself into everyone else. Let's dive into today's episode. Hello. I hope that you are having a wonderful December if you're listening to this in December. It's like not Christmas time yet. It doesn't feel holiday yet for me. And I keep looking at the house and decorating, and I keep going, what am I missing? And I realize there's something about it that it's holiday says warmth in my house to me. It says in my mind that there should be an element of warmth. And I think that lights do that. So I'm looking around going where can I go find some cheap, set of lights and put lights in a corner or something. So, and outside it's raining and dreary and it's 50 degrees and gray. And it's just, I don't know, we're not quite into that holiday season, even though absolutely every store I walk through is inundated with holiday everything, except that I went to Hobby Lobby, and do you know what they have? They have Valentine's Day out. And even the woman who works there, she and I were talking, and Home Goods as well. And we're just this is ridiculous. So I'm sure you know what I mean. If you're listening to this at any other time of year, you still know what I mean when we're talking about being, December 12th. Today I want to talk about a topic that I know is, for me at the very least, and I know for my clients, and I know for my friends, it's almost something that there is so much content around it. There's so many reminders. There's so many people telling you about this that it almost feels cliche. It almost feels like, oh gosh, not that again. And it's crazy because it's something that is super biblical, super helpful, and so fruitful. And yet, even I knowing that, teaching on it, coaching on it, telling my kids about it, and having practiced it and seeing the fruit, I still look at it like it's, of course, it's an element of, well, yeah, you should do that. Yes, of course, that's important. Oh, I try to do that as often as I can, right? And yet there's a deeper level of it that I keep not getting to because I keep forgetting to be consistent at this one thing. And I thought, it's just one of those episodes that if I'm that way and I know my clients say, I know to do this, but I don't do it. If my friends say, I know that I should, but I don't, is probably something my listeners struggle with too. And the thing that I'm talking about that I think you should stop right now and do and build a habit of consistency around doing is thankfulness. And I actually want you to consider, did you feel an inner eye roll in your soul? The soul eye roll. Did you have a thought I don't know if I want to listen to this episode. Maybe I'll move on to something else because I know everything there is to know about thankfulness, or of course that's important. I don't need to listen to it again. Or did you think to yourself sure, it's important and I will do it. I will start that gratitude journal that I promised myself 4 years ago I would do. I think we just should dive into the power of it for a minute. Not just this feel good emotion of it, but something that is really a transformative practice that brings deep joy and develops relationships and is very grounding when things are hard. I think that some of the reasons that thankfulness is overlooked, that it is poo-pooed aside, yeah, of course, is because life gets very busy. things are moving really fast. There's so much to do and to juggle, and we're prioritizing our productivity over reflection and sitting still and being mindful about what we have, right? So human nature is to love more doing and less being in whatever direction you're driven towards. Being can be really scary if we don't realize that being is like where we find truth. It's where we find a source of hope and the possibility that we're really searching for. So like you're rushing through your day and you're ticking off the tasks, but you never stop to pause and acknowledge like, wow, good things are really happening, or I am blessed, or look what I have already versus what I don't have yet. The other thing is comparison, obviously. Again, I think it's another thing where you're like, yeah, sure, we know comparison's a problem. And yet we get sucked into it. And social media and all of the societal like pressures all invite us to focus on what we lack instead of what we have. Why? Because we have this human nature and this free will. Our soul tends to look from an orphan perspective at what we don't have versus what we do have. The brain is even functioning that way with a negativity bias. But we don't have to give in and we don't have to stay that way. We can be powerful people who make decisions about who we will be, who we're becoming. We can practice gratitude. We can push aside and resist the things that are orphan-minded, the envy, the jealousy, the pride. We can resist those things. We do not, here's your permission slip. You do not have to be perfect and never feel jealous and never struggle with poverty-mindedness. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be in growth mode, okay? Try it. Just try it. Just try to do it when you can, and don't shame yourself that you're not doing it all of the time, or you got sucked back in on Instagram. Just say I'm just in process, and every little bit helps. When you're going through and you're feeling envious of somebody else's spotless home or beautiful vacation, but you're not looking at what is right in front of you, the people in front of you, the meal that you're enjoying, instead of how do I capture a picture of this entree with the atmosphere of the restaurant behind me, and I've got to make sure, it's too bad that I can't make this picture on Instagram look like I'm here with friends, because I'm actually eating by myself, but I don't want anybody to know that. Everybody else has pictures of them clinking glasses with their best friends, right? It's kind of ridiculous. But what if you let those moments actually remind you, instead of to shame and condemn yourself of oh my gosh, I'm so sick of it. I'm always comparing. I'm always getting sucked in. Well, just say, every time I recognize that I'm doing that, what I stop and do is I actually stop right now and I do this thing called thankfulness. Right now, in this moment, I look around and I go, I'm really thankful for this grilled cheese and tomato soup. I don't need to take a picture of it. I don't have to tell anybody. I'm just thankful for it. I'm thankful that God gave me the money to buy this meal out, this lunch by myself, or this dinner with friends, this dinner at home with my family. I'm just thankful. Another reason that thankfulness is overlooked is what I would say is unprocessed pain. Because when we're facing hard times, challenges, it's really, really easy for us to see the struggle and miss the blessings that are always coexisting with the difficulty we face, even though we oftentimes don't see that until we have hindsight. But if you really stop to look, read between the lines of the trials, you're going to find hope and blessings in the middle of what you're going through, whether it's now or it's later. But it's hard to turn your mind from what's terrible to what's great. But once you do it, you can't unsee the blessings that are actually right in front of you. So maybe you're struggling with money and you don't have enough, it's a tough season financially. You might not be paying attention because of what the lack is and the hardship is. You might not be paying attention to the support and love that you have in your friends and your family, right? Stop and just say, I'm going to take my eyes off of what is so hard, what looks like not enough, And I'm just going to take 2 minutes and I'm going to recalibrate my mind, my soul, my brain. And I'm going to think on what I do have. I'm going to think on things that are hopeful and joyful and beautiful, right? So some strategies to actually step into this habit and become more consistent at it are, of course, journaling somehow. So write down 3 things that you're thankful for every day. It can be, I have a yummy cup of coffee. It might be something very simple or very profound. Like I had this really meaningful conversation with my dad who is suffering from dementia. But I had this meaningful conversation and that was really beautiful. I'm thankful for that, right? Or you're struggling with stress at work or at home, and stop to journal your gratitude to see like what are the positives at work, like supportive colleagues or fun people, like fun coworkers, or a long lunch break, or your family's encouragement, or a friend who always has like this listening ear when every time you call. So use a prompt if you need to, like, what made me smile today? We do this at dinner sometimes. Like my husband will ask the kids, like, what was something that made you happy today? Or what was the best part of that day at school? I know you're telling me what was hard. What was a good part? 1 Thessalonians 5:18 talks about giving thanks in all circumstances. Not just some of them, not the ones that are really warm and cozy, but it says this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. There is a promise in there, right? It's God's will for us to be thankful. There's always promises when we get in alignment with his will. Another thing you can do is just kind of referring back to what I said earlier, but turn your complaint into gratitude. Philippians 2:14 says to do everything without grumbling or arguing. And I like to think in terms of operating of like the opposite spirit. So for every complaint, find one thing to be grateful for and begin to actually be aware of how complaining you are without shaming and condemning yourself. Just saying, oh, that was a complaint. You can keep it neutral. You don't have to make this a positive or negative thing. You could just keep it neutral and say, oh, I just said something that came out. It sounded like a complaint, or it felt like a complaint, or I did mean it as a complaint. Maybe I didn't even mean it as a complaint, but now that I look back, I go, that was a complaint. Okay, every time I do that, I stop and I go, what is something I can be grateful for? And I replace it. So if you're stuck in traffic, instead of stewing or spewing your thoughts, you might think, I'm really grateful for this time to listen to my favorite podcast. Or if somebody cuts you off, think of it as a blessing. Like I get to pray for them and bless them instead of curse and rage at them. See it as an opportunity to bless people you otherwise wouldn't have noticed and therefore prayed for. I do this. People cut me off and I feel this thing rise up in my body. I'm very angry. It feels like an injustice. And I raise my hand towards them, and instead of like doing other things with my fingers, I just say, I bless you to know Jesus. I bless you to have an amazing day. I bless you. I'm like, this is your day. You cut me off. Now you're getting prayed for. You don't even know what was going to happen, but now this is coming towards you because now I bless you. You're getting saved. You're going to know Jesus. You're going to do powerful, mighty works in your life. You're going to find out who you are. And it actually, sometimes I end up laughing at myself because it's ridiculous. Because I actually just take all that energy that builds up in my body that would make the average person rage or want to fight, have vengeance. And I turn it into, I will use all this energy as a blessing. Sometimes it starts out not as a blessing, and I catch myself and I go, oh, no. We're going to bless. We're not going to curse. Sometimes I have to say, I'm sorry, I break off all those curses that I just started saying at you. It just rises up. It is not naturally who I am. It's just like something that rises up because I'm a fighter in the face of injustice, right? Okay, that was a little bit of a bunny trail. So make it a family practice or even a personal practice that you stop at dinner or another meal, like any time of day, just pick a day and say, like, this is the practice. What is a challenge you face today? And what is one thing you're thankful for? Even if it's just you, make it your way of taking time at least once a day to process these answers. And the other thing is to express your gratitude out loud. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. That's Psalm 100, verse 4. So go through the gates of the kingdom of heaven, enter his gates with thanksgiving and praise. This is verbal, right? It's not just like, oh, I'm just thinking about how thankful I am. No, I'm going into his gate and into the court of the Lord. And I am verbally thanking and praising, right? So say thank you to other people out loud. Often be genuine, be authentic about it. Don't be weird. It will strengthen your relationship with people. It reinforces positive thoughts and connections. It connects you to people that you've never met before. It's a great way to develop a connection or a relationship with somebody that is at the store, the coffee shop, the restaurant, at work, right? So if you start expressing your gratitude more at home or at work, you're going to notice your morale is going to be higher, and so is theirs, everybody around you. And you're going to have a greater sense of collaboration, even with dishwashing, like chores. And more people are going to smile back at you, because when you're thankful, it manifests physically in a lighter, brighter face and more smiles. The reason that thankfulness matters so much is because it helps build resilience. It shifts your focus from problems to positive things and possibilities, and it deepens relationships because expressing it strengthens relationships, the bonds between you and other people, and develops trust. And it also gets us into alignment with God because it keeps us rooted in his grace and his provision and his promises, even during the hard times. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to just stop and ask yourself right now, what is one thing I'm super thankful for in 2024? And then when you sit with that, I welcome you to just pause the podcast right now and stop and actually be mindful. Even if it's only 30 seconds, give yourself 30 seconds. Right now, you have this invitation. What is one thing I'm super thankful for in this past year? If you're not listening to this in December of 2024, what is one thing you're super thankful for in the past year that you're listening to this in, or the past season, past month, past week? Like, choose a span of time that has been maybe difficult, maybe full more of complaints than gratitude, and refocus and be mindful about it. And then the next question is focused on, like, why? Why am I so thankful for that thing? What is it about that I feel so much gratitude towards? So if I was to stop and say, what do I feel super thankful for about in 2024, even though things have been really hard this year, I would say the ability to pivot in God's promises. I'm just super thankful for that. Things have been hard, but in the midst of the hardship, God's shown his faithfulness and kept his promises. And I have been able to pivot and turn in other directions and be adaptable to go in new ways than I thought or planned to go, right? And so then digging deeper, why am I so thankful for God's promises being fulfilled this year in ways that I have been able to pivot and go from what I thought I was going to do to what I ended up doing, and how things ended up, even though they were outside. The results we've gotten are outside of the results I expected to get, right? Why am I thankful for that? It's because the deeper issue is that I'm really thankful to God that his ways are higher than mine, his thoughts are higher than mine, and the fruit from following him as this story unfolds will always be greater than getting the fruit I could have manifested and created and controlled on my own. If I had said, I don't want 2024 to be hard, I wouldn't have the kind of fruit. I wouldn't have been pressed down. And so there wouldn't have been the oil that was created from being pressed. And I'm thankful for the oil that was produced during a hard year. The why question is the joy of knowing what makes you grateful. What kind of things do you get grateful for? The circumstances or the objects or the events, they're just a manifestation of the actual desire of your heart, the kinds of things you feel thankful for, right? Sometimes the thing you're thankful for is, just a manifestation of a deeper longing. It's also really powerful to keep a journal of God's promises in things that you hope for and pray for and how those things come to pass. When you stop and give attention, you become mindful to how good things are actually happening to you, and prayers do actually get answered eventually in one way or the other. And things are actually working together for your good because you have hindsight. You will have a better worldview of your life, and that is going to shape your perspective. Your paradigm's being informed by what you believe, and if you never put any focus on what you have, how you got it, and what it means to you, then there's going to be more negativity in your soul and your mind, and you're going to forget who you really are and whose you are. So for the next 7 days, my challenge to you is to practice one act of gratitude on a daily basis. Put it in a journal, or doesn't have to be every morning I get up at 5 o'clock and I have this notebook and I write it all down. Just if you're an on-the-go person like I am, just have a note in your phone. It doesn't matter where you go, or you can send a text to yourself. We don't even have to make this something that you can come back to. I think sometimes we make these types of practices so difficult to reach and be consistent. Just stop putting up walls and making it harder for yourself. Write it down, even if you never go back and look at it. Make it a practice that you stop and make a note of what you're grateful for. Whether you send it to a daily heartfelt thank you message to somebody, or you stop and you see your complaint and you turn it into gratitude. Whatever you need to do, stop and take note of it in some form or fashion. Make that your habit. Your habits build up to create a future. So if you're going to embrace gratitude, not as a fleeting feeling that just happens every now and then, but as an intentional life-changing habit that you create, then you will, in thankfulness, find peace and joy and alignment with the will of God. And you're going to know a deeper truth from the place of thankfulness than you will ever know from a place of but reality looks like, and this is how I feel, right? We're looking for the big T truth to guide us. So I'm really thankful for you guys, thankful for you as listeners, and some of you are my clients and my coaches. I'm so thankful for you, so thankful for what God has done in the Christian Life Coach Collective, in Sterling and Stone Mentoring, and in our Crisis Response International, our ministry. I am so thankful for what God has done and how he has done things I never planned on doing, I never thought could happen. And next year, I really do see the Lord going into a new direction, new initiatives, new plans, new gifts that he's, just kind of every good gift comes from the Father above, right? I just feel like there's gifts that are falling down, and I let yourself absorb that there are gifts coming from the Father in heaven for you. There are good gifts coming down. You can be thankful for them. You can expect them. You can be thankful ahead of time. And your thankfulness ahead of time and your expectancy, it gives this, it's like it opens up a permission for the gift to land right on time in your hands. So I bless you to receive the gifts that God has for you. And I bless you to receive the gift of thankfulness and gratitude. Stop right now. Do this one thing. Focus on entering his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise, and see if your life does not change. Just a minute. For the next 7 days, once a day, give it your all and intention and see what God does. Bless you, friends. Talk to you next week. If you'd like to work with me and get coaching, become a coach, or start a coaching business, check out all the courses and coaching I offer at sterlingandstonementoring.com, or you can scroll through the show notes to find all the links that you need. I pray that your day will be full of joy, hope, transformation, and the presence of God.